Thank you all for joining today. This session I'm between you and lunch, I guess. Just a couple of quick things. I noticed they didn't get the updates in time, but it's listed as a database track 300 level, and neither of those are correct. This is probably analytics and not a 300 level. So we'll go through a high-level overview of what Fabric is, some of the new capabilities, some of the momentum we've seen so far. So if that's what you want to hear, then you're in the right place. Again, thank you so much. My name is Ravs. I work on the platform team within Microsoft Fabric. So my team focuses a lot on sort of the admin, governance, the capacity management, the horizontal, so to speak. And we'll get a little bit into that. But it's such an incredible, exciting time to be working with data, to be working with AI, right? There's so much innovation happening. And Fabric is changing really, really quickly. So one of the things that's really important to us is like connecting with you all and hearing your feedback. So if you have any thoughts and if you've tried it before, I'd love to hear after the session. So we'll get started. So no surprise to anyone here, right? AI is rapidly transforming the world. But for AI to work well, it needs the foundation of data, right? If you have garbage in, you have garbage out. And so it's incredibly important for customers to get their data estate ready for the era of AI. Now, this is a lot harder than it needs to be. The plus, we have so much innovation happening, right? But what that leads to is a ton of fragmentation. This is the 2024 data and AI landscape, and every tiny box on the slide represents a product or technology, right? And this is the complexity that's confronting you today, because the burden is on you to try and figure out which product to use, how do these work well together, how do these integrate, how are they priced, and how are they licensed? And this complexity just gets in the way. We hear in a lot of our customer meetings, they are like, I just want to be like the chief data officer, not the chief integration officer. And before I joined Fabric, I was the CTO of a small data analytics startup. It was really small. It was like 50 people. And we still ended up with silos and, how do I get this data from here for my analysts to see? I was like, if we can end up with these complexities in 50 people, like just imagine when you have real data estates. So the thing that we want to do with Microsoft Fabric is simplify this, right? And take all those data technologies and cohesively bring it into a single product. So that's really what Microsoft Fabric is all about. It's the unified data platform for AI transformation, right? It's the objective is to give you all the capabilities across the data journey, right? So whether you're trying to get data in, all the way to the business analyst who's trying to extract intelligence from data, because that really is the main reason why we're working on all of this, right? A good way to think about it is, like what Microsoft Office kind of did to productivity apps like decades ago, right? At this point, it's hard to imagine we think about, I want to write a doc, so I'll get WordPerfect, and we have a spreadsheet, so I'll get Lotus, and thinking about if I have a table in Lotus, how do I copy and paste it into Word? Like, it's just not something we think about, right? And that's our goal. So with Microsoft Fabric, we want everything to be unified, have one end-to-end experience. We have 6 core workloads, so data factory, data engineering, data warehousing, data science, real-time intelligence, and Power BI. And it's built on this common foundation, right? AI, so Copilot is infused into every experience in Fabric. We introduced OneLake, which is kind of like, think about the OneDrive for data, right? It's a multi-cloud SaaS data lake. So the idea is no matter where your data lives, you can easily bring it into one single lake in Fabric. And we work very closely with Purview because we know that governance is of utmost importance. So you might have all your data in, but we want to be able to give you those governance capabilities and to set policies around really, really easily. So It's not a bundle of products. It's not a suite of different products. But we worked really carefully to have an integrated experience and an integrated business model so you can dramatically accelerate your time and drive down your costs. So I'll speak a little bit about how you can get started. So a lot of customers, this vision has really resonated with a lot of customers. They're using Fabric today not only to bring their internal people all together, but also, like for many, they use the insights generated from Fabric to provide to their customers, right? I'm kind of thrilled. Across the board, we have like more than 14,000 customers using Fabric today, from the largest to the smallest in every industry in every country, right? And as excited as I am about it, it's just a drop in the bucket. And what I'm showing you here is sort of where this journey about extracting data and intelligence from data started with Power BI, right? Today we have over 375,000 customers using Power BI, 95% of the Fortune 500 companies, and more than 6.5 million developers. So why am I talking about all of this? Even after Fabric launched, we're still seeing that rate of acceleration. And the reason I'm talking about this is because we were really keen to make sure that Fabric is easily available to anyone who is a Power BI customer or not. So if you haven't tried Fabric or looked at it already, so I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes talking about how you can get started and what resources you have available to you. And then we'll get into what some of the innovation in Fabric has been in the last few months. So Fabric's available one click away to any customer, and you can go to this URL. This URL. It's coming, yes. ak.ms try Fabric, right? 60-day trial, no credit cards, no Azure subscriptions. You get an F64 SKU, which I might add is a pretty generous trial, because we actually believe once you try it, you're going to fall in love with the capabilities, right? So do go in and try it out. And then it's like, OK, what are you releasing in Fabric? I just want to call out super hard at work, and we have a really rapid pace of innovation. So Microsoft overall is pouring massive resources into Fabric. Every week there's a new release, new capabilities lighting up. And every month, we take all those capabilities and we put that into a monthly blog. So that's where you can go to figure out what the latest and greatest is. And these blogs are like 60, 80 pages long, just to give you a sense of the volume of innovation coming across Fabric, right? And a lot of these ideas are not just from us. We make sure we're listening to you, the community. There's ideas.fabric.microsoft.com, where we pick sort of the top voted community ideas. And every semester that we plan, we look at those ideas and be like, OK, this is the ones that we want to work on. And we work really hard to try and get those out into the product as soon as possible. And we know it's not just about the technology, right? It's about the people. So as I mentioned before, we're trying to get all the personas that are involved in this data journey to collaborate, to share ideas, so you can get to faster value. Like data and AI is a team sport, right? And with that, so just a quick couple of things around how you might get more resources outside of all the massive amounts of documentation that exists online is our community. We love our community, and our community has grown super quickly. Across Power BI and Fabric, we have about 2.6 million active users, pretty much everywhere in the world. We have 239 active user groups. So I'd highly encourage, if there is a local community group around your area, learn from each other, meet some amazing people. All of y'all are going to be along the same journey. So a bunch of resources there. We also have the Fabric Analytics Engineer certification. And we're pretty excited because it really took off. We were blown away. We had like 17K folks certified in like the first 6 months. And now, in addition to that, we're also announcing the beta of the Fabric Data Engineer certification. So this goes deeper into data integration, data engineering, data warehousing in the back end. So it's really important to us that you have all the skills you need to be successful. So we heard feedback and launching sort of a deeper certification for you all to get started. Okay, so that was a little bit of an intro. So let me get into like some of the demos and thinking about what our future of innovation, a future of Fabric is. So I wanted to talk to you about our 3 pillars of investment: AI-powered development, AI-powered data estate, and AI-powered analytics. So with AI-powered development, I kind of talked about it, right? Our whole goal is to bring a unified data platform from your data engineers to your business analysts, and I'll show you how this all kind of works together. The second is AI-powered data estate, and this is about OneLake, right? We have a multi-cloud SaaS data lake, and we're bringing in a lot of AI capabilities natively into OneLake. So the storage system itself becomes AI-powered. And then AI-powered insights, and this is about taking our Copilot experiences into Power BI, so you can find those valuable insights and make the business decisions faster. So let's dig in. AI-powered development, talked about the complete data platform, unified SaaS. Some folks come to me and be like, how would you explain SaaS? And really the way I think about it is, you go to buy a car, right? You might go, you're like, I got this model, I'll pick like a couple of colors and which model I want, the year, and get your keys and drive off, right? And in the past world, it's more like you're going into sort of an auto parts shop where you buy the engine, you buy like all the windows and windshields, and I don't know what else goes in a car, but you need to know, and you bring it together and you stitch it together, and then you build your car, right? So with Fabric, it's SaaSified, which means you have very sort of, it works by default, and you have minimal knobs to tune. So that's sort of the power of it. Definitely by default secure and governed, right? And one thing we sort of learned over the last couple years is that a lot of folks who are using Fabric are not just using one workload at a time, right? So it's not like they're saying, hey, I'm just a data engineer and I just want to use this experience. Kind of bleed in and out. So I'm bringing data in, I'm doing some stuff. So we're thinking about that quite a bit and seeing how we can move from these individual experiences again to more unified. We're seeing like 40% of people using all the workloads together. So one of the things we've done, if you're familiar with Fabric, is we dug really deep to figure out how we can make sure it's unified. So we used to have a switcher at the bottom that would, take you to different experiences. So I want to go into my data factory experience. I want to go into my data engineer experience. So we're working to roll out changes that makes the product feel more cohesive. So instead of having sort of a homepage per workload, we're taking all the workloads and having the single place for developers to come together and build. The boxes that you see that are coming up are really, they're called task flows. So think of these as an architecture diagram, like a living document of your project, right? So we're making it very workspace-centric. So when you come into Fabric, you're going to have this task flow that are going to talk about the various things that you're trying to do. Maybe it's ingest data, maybe it's visualize data, maybe it's your medallion architecture, and you're moving data from, bronze, silver, gold lake houses, right? So they provide you with that overall structure of the project that stitch all these components together so you can see the end-to-end from all the workloads. And every item in there, so, one of the things that in wherever I'm working with data projects is like, you have your workspace with so many different items and you're just not sure what belongs to what. So with task flows, you can kind of click on, say, prepare, the prepare task over there, and it automatically navigates you to, okay, these are the tasks that are associated, the items associated with my prepare flow. So you can associate it with jobs, and in addition, we're sort of infusing, again, AI experiences that I will show you a demo of. So Copilot in every experience of Fabric. So let's dig into it. In this one, before we jump into the next demo, the other thing I did want to point out is we heard a lot again, and this is really coming down to what does it take to have a unified experience, right? And I talked about we're going to have a single unified homepage, not different homepages per workload. But the other thing that we heard a lot is I have my developers and I have my consumers, right? And I want to sort of separate out that experience where for consumers, I don't want them to see all this complexity of things. And for developers, I want them to have all the power that they need to have. So I'll show you a quick sneak peek of some changes that will be rolling out here soon on how we're thinking about simplifying those and providing different experiences.
Here I am in my Contoso Sales Analytics workspace. And in this task flow, you can see we've built a full end-to-end solution here in Fabric. It has everything from data ingestion, to our data stores, to machine learning and AI, to data visualization, and even real-time alerting and dashboards. Now I need to make some updates to our solution, and I'm going to show you how I can use Copilot everywhere across Fabric to be more productive. But first, I'm going to use the built-in Git integration in Fabric. The Git integration in Fabric is now GA, and we also have new support for items from the real-time intelligence workload. So I'm going to create a new branch workspace to do my work. I just give it a name, and automatically Fabric will create a new workspace and branch and sync it with my Git repo. So I can make all of my updates and verify my changes without disrupting my current solution. In a few moments, all of the supported workspace items have been added to the new workspace. Now, what I want to do is update the data warehouse we're using for our customer loyalty program to include data about the orders our members are making. To do this, I'm going to create a new data pipeline. Let's give the pipeline a name, and I'm ready to go. Now, instead of manually creating the pipeline activities, I'm going to use the new Copilot for Data Pipelines that is now in public preview. With this Copilot, I can use natural language to simply tell Copilot what I need done. In this case, I want to copy the orders table, and I can select the connection I want to use from the built-in UX and tell it to put the data into a new table in my data warehouse. I also want to get an email if the pipeline fails. So I send this to Copilot in the chat, and just like that, Copilot has created the pipeline activities I need. And now I can run the pipeline and start moving the data over. Using natural language to configure my pipeline is much faster than using UX. And if I give the data some time to load, I can switch back to my data warehouse and refresh it and see my new table. And the new Copilot for Data Pipelines can do a few other cool things as well. If I switch over to the Monitoring Hub and select a different pipeline activity that has a failure, such as this Databricks data load, I can ask Copilot to help me understand what's going on with the error. Copilot will look at the error codes for me, so I don't have to go searching on my own, and help me understand what's going on. In this case, it looks like there might be a quota issue that's causing a problem, and Copilot has given me a few links where I can learn more. Okay, so let's switch back to my warehouse. Now, I'm going to use Copilot in data warehousing, which is also now in public preview. Let's start by asking Copilot to recommend some queries I might want to run. In here, Copilot has looked at my data and made some query suggestions. Let's look at the top 3 primary interests of customers who have backordered items, which I can now ask because we've brought in the additional orders table. And I can run the query and see the result. It looks like camping is the area with the most back orders. Now let's ask Copilot to create a bit more complicated query. Let's ask for a view of customers who have back-ordered orders, their lifetime value, how many back orders they have, and group it by their primary interests. And Copilot has generated the query, which I can run and create the view. Being able to use Copilot to generate SQL is not only a huge productivity boost, but it's also great for helping people upskill and learn to take on more challenging tasks. All right, next, let's create a new report, which I can do right from my data warehouse using Power BI's Direct Lake mode. Again, with Copilot, I can simply ask for what I want, such as a breakdown of customer lifetime value and back orders. And in a couple of seconds, Copilot has generated a report page, and it's a great starting point for building out a full report on my data. So now I've used Copilot integrated across Fabric to get data, to work with it in my data warehouse, and visualize it in Power BI. And finally, I can switch back to my workspace, open my source control pane, and commit my changes, with everything seamlessly integrated end to end. Here I am in my Contoso.
Here I am again. So that was a demo of how Copilot is again infused across all the experiences and really helps with that powerful solution development, all the way from data pipelines, getting in your data, to BI, right? It gives me hope. I'm like, okay, maybe I can do data engineering here. And we have heard, right, CI/CD, so anything in production is super important. Git integration with all Fabric items, super important. So if you have used Fabric, you would have noticed some of the gaps that we had, but I'm really excited to say that all the primary items will be supported in CI/CD by the end of the year, and it is sort of our priority to keep it up to date. And you will notice some of the new items that we're releasing. In addition, a key piece of feedback that we heard was you'd like more deployment technology options, right? So we also have in preview the new Terraform provider. So it can help you automate the deployment of the environment of your capacity resources. So again, a big help if you use Terraform within your organization, and now you can use it to streamline Fabric environments. Talked about developers and end users, so I'm going to, yes. And then this is sort of, not going to drain the slide, but wanted to give you a sense of some of the innovation that we have, some of the announcements of what we have in GA, so things like Git integration, new REST APIs, Copilot for Data Factory, and some of the experience improvements, and a lot of things in preview as well. All right, so let's move on and zoom into some of the other workloads, the data engineering workloads, the data science and data warehousing. So let me share some of the exciting new stuff in here. The first thing that I want to announce here is that our Fabric Runtime 1.3 is now GA. It includes all the greatest and latest from open source technologies, including Spark 3.5, Delta 3.2, and now you can use it in your production workloads. We also have our secret sauce, which is the new native execution engine. This is a really powerful execution engine. It's crafted entirely in C++, giving you amazing performance up to like a 4x boost. The great thing is it's fully based on open source technologies, Velox and Gluten, and we have been contributing back to the open source, collaborating with Meta, IBM, Intel, and everything is compatible with Apache Spark APIs, meaning no changes to your code are needed. If you are already using the data engineering workloads, it just works. And basically at no additional cost, which is amazing. You don't have to do anything to turn it on. Existing projects will just utilize this, and you should be able to do more with your existing capacities. We wanted to make sure all our Spark users have the default best performance without costing more. So let's move on to more demos. AI-powered analytics. I wanted to share a sneak peek of a new capability that we call AI functions, which is really a capability to enrich all your data in one lake with AI. So let's take a look.
We're starting out in our notebook experience, and the first thing I'm going to do is bring in some data. So of course, we can connect to our lakehouse, we can now even connect to our warehouse, but we can do even more. We're really excited to announce that now mirrored databases can also be queried with Spark. I'm going to choose to add a new mirrored database, and I can select from my mirrored Snowflake, Cosmos DB, Azure SQL, and more. So let's select our customer call logs, which is actually a mirrored Azure SQL. And just like that, I can see my data appear on the side, and it looks just like a lakehouse. And now I can drag in my customer call logs table, I automatically get my code snippet, and I can run the query. So over here, we can see we're dealing with customer call logs coming from our Contoso Outdoors call centers. I'd love to get some insights about these call logs, but I have a bit of a problem. It appears that all my call logs are in Swedish, which I unfortunately do not understand. Luckily, this is not a problem as we have AI to the rescue. I'm going to jump into a new code cell, and I'm going to create an English transcript column. And now I can apply an AI transformation on top of my existing Swedish text to do the translation. You can see we have a whole bunch of built-in AI transforms I can choose from, including sentiment, classification, extraction, summarization, and many more. I'm going to choose the translate option and specify the language as English. And that's it. In one single line of code, without needing to set up any AI resources or bring in subscription keys, I've been able to leverage AI to enrich my data. And here we go. We can see our result is loaded up, and we can see our English transcript is now available. Okay, this looks much easier to read. I can actually understand this. There's still a lot of text here. So as a next step, I'd love to actually classify these transcripts into common customer issues. So let's define a new AI transform. In this case, we're going to create a column called issues, and I'm going to classify my text into issues related to installations, shipment, warranty, returns, or other. So as you can see, I've defined my own fully custom labels here, and let's see what the AI does. We'll give it a couple of seconds, and we can see our new issues column with all the labels nicely applied. So let's jump into one of these and take a look. We can see we have someone who hit an installation issue, and reading the transcript, we can see that they seem to have some problems installing a grill that they purchased. Now, wouldn't it be great if we could take an action like inviting the customers to their nearest store for a free tutorial session? This is where Esri's natively integrated geospatial capabilities can help. So over here, I've got a new notebook, and I'm just going to add some code that will let me use the power of Esri to classify our call logs into different bins based on the volume of calls. We can plot this on a fully customizable map of Stockholm, and we can see that the largest volume of customer issues is coming from the southwest regions. Okay, so let's try to do something more complex now. We want to actually figure out what are the nearest stores to each customer, so we can offer them their tutorial session. And this is where the Esri engine can do really cool things, like nearest neighbor analysis. I can specify I'm looking for the nearest 3 stores in a 10-mile range, and Esri does all the heavy lifting. And here we go. In our table, we can see that for every customer, we're able to work out their nearest 3 stores along with their precise distances. Now we could of course write this back to the lakehouse, but let's plot something in our notebook quickly to see how the solution is working. I'm going to add some code for visualizing the nearest store locations, and I'm just going to pick one customer at random to test things out. And in no time, we get a new map visualization where we can see the nearest 3 stores, one of which seems to be much closer and is the clear winner for our personalized tutorial session. And we're just scratching the surface here. The Esri engine in Fabric provides over 150 spatial functions to do all sorts of cool geospatial analytics.
All right. So we saw AI functions, geoanalytics. We also saw the ability to have your mirrored databases supported by notebooks. And lots of innovation coming here. Again, I'll put this up there for you for a few seconds, not going to drain this, but just to give you a sense of we're rapidly innovating in across all the experiences in Fabric. All right, so we talked a little bit about getting your data in, the data engineering, data warehouse, data science. Let's look at real-time intelligence. So we announced this at Build earlier this year, and we've really seen a lot of interest in it already. And what do we mean here? So real-time analytics and intelligence is all about processing that real-time and streaming data, right? Getting insight from that data and even taking action. We have a real-time hub here, and the way to think about it is real-time hub does what for streaming data that OneLake does for data at rest. It's the one place that you can find all your streaming data across everything, no matter where it comes from. Microsoft sources, third parties like Amazon Kinesis, Kafka, which is an industry standard for handling low volumes, low latency, massive throughput. And once all your data, all your streaming data lands in real-time hub, we can process it, analyze, monitor, and take action on it. And I will show you a demo of exactly that.
All right, I'm going to start here in the Real-Time Hub, which is a place I can use to see all of the streams of data available across my whole organization. I can filter it by the type of stream or the location, the workspace, and I can search for items as well. In this case, I want to pull in some external information, and Real-Time Intelligence makes it easy to do that, whether I'm connecting to Microsoft sources like Azure Event Hubs or IoT Hub, to change data capture sources like Cosmos DB or PostgreSQL, or even to cross-cloud sources like Confluent Kafka, Amazon Kinesis, Google PubSub, and more. In this case, I'm going to connect to an Apache Kafka cluster, and just by putting in the connection details, I can also create an event stream to manage the transformation and routing of those events as they flow into Fabric. With the stream created, I can now open it up and immediately see a preview of these events as they're flowing in. I can even look in to see the structure of those events, and I can see that this is complex nested JSON, fairly ugly data, but Real-Time Intelligence handles it all. Now, bringing those events in is one thing, but what I really want to do is take action on them. And I can actually set an alert directly from here in the Real-Time Hub. In this case, what I'm looking at are review scores. Each of these events represents a different review. And I want to group that up by the product category and see if the satisfaction score ever drops below a value of 2. If it does, the action I want to take is sending a Teams message. I could send an email, even run a Fabric item like a notebook or a pipeline. I need to choose somewhere to save that alert. In this case, I'm going to save it back into one of those activated items. And if I open that up, I can see the details about the rules that were created. Over on the right-hand side, the definition pane brings all of that the conditions, rules, and actions together that I want to take on the data. And in the middle, I can see a live, always updating view of the data as it streams in. I see this dotted red line showing me the threshold of 2, and I can go and see the way that was defined in the condition on the right. It looks like most of these categories have got pretty healthy review scores, but a couple of them do drop below our threshold occasionally. Over here on the Analytics tab, I can just see how many times this rule would have fired. So here at 217, it would have fired 3 times. And beneath that, I get a breakdown of specifically which category would have caused the rule to be fired. I can see the action that was going to be taken, and I can test that out. So I get a preview of the email or Teams notification that I received. You can see it shows me the context of the category, the satisfaction score, and when it would fire. Now, being able to take action on this information is really helpful, but sometimes I want to store the data to analyze it over a longer period of time. For example, to do some loyalty analytics or longer-term product recommendations. And if I want to do that, I'm going to leverage the power of the Event House.
Right. So we saw here not just about, okay, I'm getting my data, but once I have certain conditions met, what kind of action do I take on it, right? So it kind of closes that loop of I have data, I have insights, I can monitor them and then take action. And Will alluded to an event house, right? So we saw how to monitor, send alerts, it's great. But as he said, like sometimes we want to look at these events over a longer period of time. And I want to save them to do something more complex. And that's something I can do with the Event House. It's based on Azure Data Explorer and the KQL technology. And basically all of Microsoft's telemetry runs through this technology. It's ingested into these event houses. It's massive. We have 8.3 exabytes of events transmitted per month, 300 petabytes ingested daily. And it is truly massive, and it's designed for time series. So if you want to look at trends and changes in patterns, like Event House is ideal for that. And so I'll show you a quick demo of the Event House in action.
To illustrate the power of an Event House, I'm going to use a data set that we took from publicly available GitHub information. So it tells you how many people are logging in, the number of repos being created, pull requests, and the like. And because that's a stream of data just like anything else, I can search for it in the Real-Time Hub. And right from here, I can start to analyze it, or even get Copilot to build me some visuals and some real-time dashboards on top. So you can see here, it's looked at the structure of the data, looked at the information therein, and recommended some charts for me. So you can see it split out to show the events over time, the different types of the event, the number of events happening for different users. And these give me a really good set of recommendations that might be a good jumping off point for me to do my own analysis. Now, if I want to run my own queries against this, I use the KQL language. So let's just take our live stream events table and count the number of rows here. You can see there are over 6 billion records in this table and updating all the time as more events flow in. So let's summarize it up. Let's do a count of each of those events by the type of the event. You can see the blazing fast performance we get here. In less than half a second, we've gone over all those 6 billion rows and grouped them up by the different types. This is amazing performance over that sort of granular data. Now, you may not be a KQL expert. I'm not a KQL expert at all, but I can use my T-SQL skills here as well. I can write my standard kind of select from, where, group by in different ways, and get just the same amazing performance over that data. You can really easily get started super quickly using the Event House. Now, let's just remind ourselves what sort of data we were dealing with here. This is complex data, right? These payload fields have loads of information in it, very rich textual information, URLs and the like, but I can use that in my queries as well. For example, I could say, let's just go and get data for the year 2023. And let's reach in and pull the repo name out of this repo field. And I can use this dot notation. Repo.name lets me go and get information out of those JSON structures. I'm going to do the same thing for the login field and take the actor.login information out of that field to use in the query here. I'm going to summarize up, count the number of events, count the number of repos, count the number of logins. And another great thing about KQL is it has built-in understanding of things like time, so I can bin these into 7-day buckets. It also has a built-in understanding of how to render different visuals, so I can ask it to render a time chart for me. And it's going to query all of that data in just a couple of seconds and bring that data back into a visualization for me to go and analyze. It looks like there's a big spike here. Most popular time to use GitHub is the end of November. Now, obviously, writing KQL is one thing, but I can also use Copilot here to help out. I can ask Copilot, and it has the same understanding of all these sorts of functions. So I can say, hey, draw me a chart, split it up by the percentage of the push events per day through 2024, and it will give me a query that I can drop into my query editor and run. And in just a couple of seconds, it's going to go and split that information out, do the calculation, and gives me a chart, a visual that I can use. In this case, I'm going to pin that visual back to our real-time dashboard. Now, these real-time dashboards are a great way to visualize operational information that we're analyzing in the Event House. You can see these visuals continue to update in real time as soon as new events stream into those tables. They're always fresh, always up to date. And it means these dashboards are a great place to view this operational data as it's changing in real time. Now, users who are doing this today ask for better ways to distribute this information around their organization. So you can now embed it alongside Power BI content in an organizational app. It's a great way to make it available to everybody in your organization, and they only need access to the data here in the dashboard itself, not the underlying database. And that's a really good example of how you can bring together all of this information from different streaming sources, put it into one place to analyze, visualize, monitor, and even take action directly on that data using real-time intelligence.
Right. So you're noticing a theme here. Super easy to get data in from various sources, put it into Fabric, monitor, take action, and you have AI sort of infused across all those experiences to help you out. And these are, again, some of the innovations coming in the real-time intelligence space. Lot of different stuff. So we talked about, AI-powered development, sort of a complete data platform, the unified experience. So let's move on to AI-powered data estate. So this is where I mentioned OneLake, which we think of as the one drive for data. It's the beating heart of Fabric where all your data lands. And no matter where it is, right? So it's a single SaaS data lake for the whole organization. It's open format, so all the workloads use the single open format to store and query data. And all the data is automatically indexed for fast discovery, MIP labels, lineage, PII scans. So think about this, right? Like having all your data in sort of a single data lake can enable some of these governance and admin scenarios and compliance. Again, since we've launched, we've seen a lot of momentum, right? We've seen sort of 3 million shortcuts. Every 15 weeks, we're seeing the data double in OneLake. And so it's like, okay, OneLake's great, but how do you get data into OneLake? And this is where our first workload, Data Factory, comes in. So let's just jump in. If you're familiar with Data Factory, you know the copy activity in data pipelines. It can manage bulk and batch data ingestion at petabyte scale. And what we want to do is make data ingestion even easier. So what we have now in public preview is this thing we call the copy job in Fabric. It's essentially a tool that simplifies data movement from any source to any destination. With copy job, there are two important things I can do. The first is if I have data in one workspace and I want to get it copied into another workspace, it's super simple to do. And the second is now we have the ability with the copy job item in Fabric to perform incremental data loads. So it allows near real-time updates whenever there is a change. And the new copy job makes this really, really simple. And let me show you a demo of that in action.
Right from my Data Factory homepage, I'll create a new artifact to kick off the data copy process. After naming it, you might notice this beautiful UI. This is the new modern Get Data experience. If you haven't seen it before, we have modernized our Get Data experience so everything is really easy to navigate. And directly from this experience, I can pick the lakehouse to move data from, and another lakehouse in a different workspace as a destination. And just like that, it is easy moving data across workspaces. How awesome is that? This copy job has an even more exciting feature, the ability to perform incremental data loads. This means you can update your data in near real time every time there's a change. Let me show you how to enable incremental data loading with this copy job. I have created a new copy job item and I got some sales data on an on-premises SQL server, and I don't want to load it every time. I'll connect to an on-prem SQL server and I'll select the database and choose the tables I want to copy over. Then, for this example, I'll land my data into another SQL database as a data destination. Now I'll choose a data movement type, either a full batch copy or an incremental copy. Let's go with the incremental by specifying the watermark column for each table. As soon as we kick off the process, the copy job from our external SQL Server database to the other SQL database begins. Within a few seconds, you can see an initial snapshot of my tables copied over. From there, subsequent copies only transfer the changes, which save both time and resources. For instance, if I go back to my SQL Server, I'll go and insert a couple of rows to the customers table, and only those 2 rows will be copied into the next run. When I check back in my copy job, I can see those 2 rows have been incrementally loaded in. We can also manage advanced configurations like read-write behaviors, partitions and latency, and monitor the job status through throughput and data volumes. While incrementally copying tables is impressive, we can do the same with file systems too, from any source to any destination. In my Amazon S3 bucket, I have a bunch of product images that contain large amounts of product images. I've set up a new copy job to incrementally copy these images from my S3 bucket into my Fabric Lakehouse. And in just a few seconds, those images have successfully made their way into OneLake. If I navigate to my Lakehouse, you can see all my product images in their specific folders right there. And now often, we have images being added to our product catalog, and I don't want to keep on copying those images from S3 over to my Lakehouse. I have a new folder, number 20, with 10 images that I need to be added to my catalog that I want to incrementally load into Fabric. Watch how easy this is. I'll simply drag and drop the folder with these images into my S3 bucket. Now, if we navigate back to my copy job, you'll see that the new images have already been incrementally added in. And just like that, I can open them right in my Lakehouse instantly.
So you just saw how easy it was to get data in Fabric. This is using, again, the Fabric pipelines. But another thing that we worked on this is for our customers who already had existing Azure Data Factory pipelines. So for our already existing ADF customers, we wanted to make sure they don't need to redo all of that, so able to have their ADF pipelines and data sets and data flows in Azure, but and use the full modern experience in Fabric, right? So another thing that we have in public preview is this ability to link. So it lets existing ADF customers seamlessly integrate their Azure Data Factory directly into Fabric. So once it is linked, all the pipelines, data sets, data flows will be fully accessible and executable in Fabric. So you can keep all your ADF items running in Azure and explore all that Fabric has to offer. So it makes it easier to just bring over your existing workloads into Fabric and kind of take advantage of the features it has to offer. Those were just a few of the top community asks that we have, and a lot more innovation, again, in the Data Factory workload in Fabric. So moving on to a few other things about OneLake, right? What it does is it unifies all your data with the power of shortcuts and the power of mirroring. So what are shortcuts? If you have existing data across clouds, on-prem, shortcuts basically link to that data, and you can use it in OneLake and Fabric. So the whole promise is you don't have to copy your data, you don't have to move your data, it's one single copy, and I'm just linking to it and bringing it into Fabric, right? And then we have mirroring that allows us to get into databases. So what mirroring is, I can point to a database, and I can create a reflection of that data in OneLake, right? So essentially, if I mirror a database, what I'm doing is I'm creating a replica in OneLake, and by the way, that replica is free. It doesn't cost you for a second storage or the compute to maintain that replica. We maintain the replica on your behalf using the CDC feeds from the database. So we talked about how you can use Data Factory to bring in your data into OneLake, and if you want to keep the data where it is, you can use shortcuts and you can use mirroring, right? And as you might know, we have chosen to standardize on the open format of Delta, which our partners with Databricks also have done. If you worked with Databricks in Fabric, you would know that up until now, we had to kind of shortcut it table by table, right? So I'm really excited to show you how we're making integration of Fabric and Azure Databricks even simpler to get started with mirroring. So let's take a look.
So let's imagine I'm building an analytics solution for Contoso Outdoors. Like many customers, I'm using Azure Databricks as part of my data estate. So here you can see my existing workspace with this neat task flow view that shows all my resources and items. So now I want to bring in data from Databricks. It's super easy. Just create a new item. I select my mirrored Azure Databricks catalog. I identify my connection, and I immediately see the available catalogs. One of these is my Contoso environment, so I'll select that. And in the default schema, I see some tables, including the one I want to mirror into my OneLake. So I'll name the catalog, and I hit create. Now the data item is created, and I can see all the data from my Databricks catalog right here. And of course, we want to make sure we're always working from the latest. So I'm hopping back to my Databricks environment where you can see those same 4 tables on the left. And just for fun, I'm adding an order details table. So now that's showing up as added in the Databricks window. So let me hop back and go refresh in my Azure Databricks catalog item in Fabric. And boom, the table is immediately visible. And from here on out, I can truly unleash other Fabric engines on top of it. So I can switch to my SQL Analytics endpoint, I can explore the data, and I can truly do anything on top of that. So here I'm just going to query some data on top of it, and it's that easy.
It really is that easy.
So let's imagine.
So we talked about, when your data is in Delta Lake format, it's, super simple. That's the thing we chose to standardize on. But let's talk about another open source format, Iceberg. And what this allows us to do is it really opens up opportunities with another partner of ours, Snowflake. So working hard on integration with Iceberg and Snowflake So if that's what you're working on, let's take a look at how we're making it easier to work with Fabric and Snowflake.
So let's start in this empty Contoso Lakehouse in Fabric, and I'll show you how easy it is to work with my Snowflake data that's currently hosted on Amazon S3 and that I'd like to bring over. So these are S3 Iceberg tables that have been written to in Snowflake. Opening one of these tables up, you can see there are currently no Delta log folders. It just has the data and the metadata folder. So I'm going to switch back to the Fabric environment. And you can see how easy it is for me to create a new shortcut to one of those S3 Iceberg tables. So I'll just go to my S3 bucket, I go to my Explorer, and it shows my list of Iceberg tables from Snowflake. I see the one that I want to bring in, which is called product, so I'll click that. And I can see a data folder that contains Parquet data and a metadata folder that contains metadata for the Iceberg table, but there's no Delta log. However, I can still select this as a table, and what it will automatically do is virtualize this as Delta. So I'm going to name it, indicate that it's from S3 in Iceberg, and I hit create. So what happens now behind the scenes is that all the necessary steps to turn this into the look and feel of Delta table is happening automatically. And this will allow me to use this data across the different Fabric engines. And so here we have the ability to preview the table with my products data, just as if it was any other Fabric table. And if we take a look at the properties of the file, we see the same two folders, data and metadata. But we now also have the Delta log folder. And these are the generated files that are necessary metadata required to make this look and feel like a Delta table. So now what if I wanted to bring in these Iceberg tables that I currently are written on my Snowflake on Azure storage account and instead wanted to write these to OneLake directly? How easy would that be, you ask? Well, I'm just going back to my Explorer. I copied a path of where I want these files to be written to and in OneLake. I'm going to switch back to Snowflake and update the path accordingly to where it needs to be in the lakehouse. And you see that we're now able to create the necessary external volume that points to that location. We create the table and add another couple of rows to the table. And so now that I've done that, I've written my table to the OneLake. So let me go back to Fabric and refresh my view. And now I see the table customers has been added. It's an Iceberg table, so it has the data and metadata folders. So now I can just leverage any Fabric engine on top of that data, like writing a Spark notebook, for example. I can even add the earlier Databricks tables to this view, and I can create this stunning Power BI report in a super simple and seamless way across all of my data sources.
So again, you're noticing the theme here, right? No matter where your data is, we want to make it super simple for you to put it into OneLake, and then without data movement, without replication, have a single copy and just leverage the powerful experiences that we have in Fabric to build out your intelligence. So we talked about Databricks, we talked about Snowflake, and there's a third one. We just released the public preview of the mirroring capabilities for the OCI Golden Gate. So a lot of good innovation here. Again, you'll keep seeing more in this space, more and more in this space. And these are some of the other, again, innovation. We talked about the mirroring for Snowflake databases. We now have REST APIs for shortcuts, S3 compatible shortcuts. So if you have data in S3, we can easily, don't need to move it, just shortcut it in and use Fabric on top of it. So we have a lot of this data. We've talked about, okay, you have your data everywhere, you're bringing it into OneLake, you can, how about security and governance? Like, I do not have a conversation about data without talking about security and governance, right? So we have a ton over here. So right from data security to network security to governance, lot of work, and this is, you know, a lot on my team, that we're putting in to make sure that your data estate is secure by default, and whatever your security and compliance requirements are, that we meet that as a platform, right? We are working really hard on certifications. You'll see FedRAMP is going to come soon, but we have all the major ones here. So again, a lot of work being put into making sure that our platform is secure, and not only that, but you have the capabilities that you need for securing and governing your data and making it mission critical. Some examples just on governance. We are adding more features around tagging. So what this will allow you to do is create sort of a centralized set of tags that you can categorize all your artifacts. You can search by those, and you can make it really effective to manage, right? You can find the right data, you can filter, you can search with the relevant tags, and you can centrally manage and define those. We're adding support to domains and subdomains, if you're familiar with that. So we have, you know, we've heard from all of you that you want more sort of teeth into these domains and use domains for governing. So in your organization, as an example, you can use domain for your marketing department, your finance department. They're just different domains, right? So what some of the new things we're bringing into domains are default sensitivity labels for domains and subdomains. And also, we want to make sure that you have more granular capabilities to delegate some settings. So I, as a workspace admin, I really trust you to, you know, take care of your export and sharing settings. Now I'm able to delegate it to that domain admin to be able to do that, right? And you can search and filter all your content by domain. So really making this a more pervasive concept and bringing more capabilities so you can, again, govern your data. Another thing that we're introducing is data loss prevention policies, right? So what does this mean? You can essentially define a purview data loss prevention policy for like a Fabric Lakehouse. What that does is, because your data is all in one lake, it automatically detects sensitive data, like PII, you know, and so it flags those. And proactively, what you can do is drive immediate action as it gets flagged. So you can, you know, use those policies to, again, effectively secure and govern your data. All right. So we talked about development. We talked about your data estate. Let's talk about our third pillar, AI-powered insights, right? This is really for those business users. You know, it's that bridge that is in between all the data and insights. And here's where Power BI comes in. That is really the bridge that connects the data to the people. And again, another theme you've been noticing, Copilot is infused into all our experiences, right? So I would love to show you how Copilot is infused into Power BI. First, we look at how it helps report authoring. So if you're trying to create a report for your end users, how can you use the latest capabilities in Power BI to do that super quickly?
Now let's take a look at some new Copilot capabilities for authoring reports. Let's start by creating a new report page with a breakdown of loyalty member demographics by different types of spending. And in a few seconds, Copilot's looked at the schema of our data and created the new report page. Now, the best part of Copilot experiences is being able to chat and iterate on what Copilot provided to refine the results. And this is why we've improved Copilot in Power BI to be able to modify specific visuals in the report page. For example, these map visuals don't look particularly good, so let's ask Copilot to replace them, and let's look at income versus spending levels. And Copilot understands what's on the page and makes the change. And the gender charts on the left also aren't particularly interesting, so let's ask Copilot to change those to a breakdown of the sources our members came from. And in addition to changing the fields in the charts, we can also change what kind of chart we want to see. Let's switch those two from column charts to bar charts. And it looks like all the charts right now are using a total value, so let's go ahead and ask Copilot to change everything to an average. And now we see something kind of interesting. It looks like the incentive program must be disproportionately large because with the average value it jumped to the top. So let's ask to change the average spend by source to a scatter plot where we can compare the number of members to the average spending for each source. And now that Copilot's made the change, we can see that our incentive program does indeed seem to be disproportionately high with the lower number of members. Building and adjusting this report manually would have taken a ton of time. But now, with Copilot, I can just use natural language to get exactly what I'm looking for.
Super powerful. Kind of looks fake, honestly, but I've tried it. It is real. You know, and so we have a lot of power now in building these reports, right? So let's see how we are sort of streamlining how end users explore this data. So I have a report. I'm trying to make sense of it. So we have capabilities for end users as well. And I promise I'm going to we're almost there. So you'll be at lunch.
Here I am on the
early.
Power BI homepage, and up here in the left corner, you might notice a new Copilot icon. And this is here because we're creating a new, fully immersive Copilot experience for discovering and exploring data. In the experience, I'm greeted by lots of suggested prompts to get me going, and I can quickly start chatting with Copilot. Let's ask how many new loyalty program members we've added in the last month. I don't have to open up a specific Power BI report or know where to look for the data. Copilot automatically finds the best answer across everything I have access to. It looks like we've added about 900 new members. More importantly, Copilot is providing a full description of the reasoning it used and a citation of where it got its answer from, so I can verify the data as needed. I can also ask a follow-up question in the chat. Let's break this down by the source of the members, and just like that, Copilot has given me a chart with new members by source. And I can ask different types of questions as well. Let's get a list of the top members who have an anniversary this month, and Copilot has given me the list. But again, the great thing here is that I'm not constrained by needing to know what report to use. From this one spot, I can ask about any data. For example, let's ask which managers have the most open positions. And this time, Copilot has found a good answer from our HR model. And beyond asking for specific data, I can also use Copilot to help me find relevant reports more quickly. Let's ask for the best report related to our customer loyalty program. And here, Copilot has given me a list of 3 interesting reports and a summary of each. Let's open the Loyalty Program Analytics report, and you can see the Copilot experience is carrying over here as well. So now I can ask deep dive questions right here inside the report. For example, let's get a few bullet points for a status email that I need to write. And in a couple of seconds, Copilot has given me some great insights I can copy and use. In this sneak peek of our new immersive Copilot experience, you've seen how we're making it easier than ever to discover data and insights using Copilot in Power BI.
All right, pretty powerful stuff. I'm biased, but I've been spoiled by search engines these days. I ask a question and I don't want to go to any links. I just want the answer, right? So that is what we're doing for data. I'll take questions in just a minute. And yes, it's available in mobile apps as well. So a lot of new innovation across for Power BI as well. All right, so we again talked about AI-powered solution development, data estate, insights. And as we're doing all these things, we're putting the customer front and center, embracing open source formats across the stack because we know it matters. When we introduced OneLake, we didn't just think about Microsoft sources, right? We thought about wherever your data is. We really completely unified the business model. So the one thing I should add here is it's a single capacity that you use. It's like the buy one currency, and no matter what workload you want to use, that's just what you use, right? So it's all to make sure that you can get value from your data fast, make informed decisions. So that's the power and promise of Fabric. Thank you.